for today's session. Couple of instructions before we actually start the session. For this session, all of you will be on mute. You are not given organizer access for the moment. So for today, the session will be recorded and will be sent by the organizer, ERP Extreme. All right. So in between, in case you have any questions, you have any doubts, or you want to talk, just you can type in the chat and we'd be able to unmute you, or you can raise your hand and we'd be able to unmute you and you could ask your questions. All right. At the end of the session, we'll anyways have question and answer session, but anywhere in between the demonstration, if you have any questions, please raise your hand. All right, I'm hoping that all of you are able to hear my voice and able to see my screen as well. If any of you have a problem listening or looking at the screen, please raise your hand and we'll be able to fix that. All right. All right. So today's demonstration basically is BW 7.4 on HANA SP8, and we're going to look at basically I'm trying to come from two separate scenarios. One is BW and one is HANA, and we're going to look at how you leverage SAP HANA as a database underlying BW application. All right, so we'll look at that. I'm hoping that you guys have a little idea about BW or HANA, and so I'll be trying to present you both the BW side of it, the HANA side of it, and also we'll look at how BW on top of HANA is leveraged. All right, you will also be sent the course content, what we would be covering. We'll quickly try to glimpse through the course that we are going to cover during this training program. All right. All right. So let's go ahead. So we're going to look at understanding BW 7.4 Service Pack 6 on SAP HANA Service Pack 8. All right. Before we go in, I'd like to make it a little more interactive, and so I'll be showing you stuff on Excel or MS Paint, whichever you're comfortable, so that in case you have any questions, you can ask. All right, so the basic concept of, I don't know how many of you have idea with BW, just to give you a little brief of what BW is. Basically, BW is a warehousing solution from SAP, or the analytics solutions from SAP before you had SAP HANA also as analytics solution. BW existed for almost a couple of decades or more than that now. All right, SAP basically started with, or SAP stands for Systems, Application and Products for Data Processing. You had different versions of it, R3 and ECC 5.0. Now we are on ECC 6.0. ECC stands for Enterprise Central Component. And this is basically the transaction processing system for SAP. All right, it has a lot of different modules on top of it. The basic language that is used with ECC is ABAP, Advanced Business Application Programming Generation 4. So the daily transactions are processed within the ECC system. All right, and these are collected on the underlying database that is there on this ECC system. This is a three-tier architecture. You have an underlying database, the application. All right. So what happened was, when you are trying to run reports on top of the ECC system, all right, there's too much of performance issues that are happening, and you have a lot of work process underlying the ECC systems being used up because for analytics. So SAP tried to give a complete solution for analytics, and the result of which is BW. If you go a little further, basically we're trying to organize data in BW that you bring in from the and It's a continuous process. Basically, the idea of the BW environment is to channelize all the data that you have from ECC, organize it, and you are handling the entire analytics independent of any performance issues on the ECC system. All right, you are able to go ahead and build your own data marts, or you could call them, or infocubes or multidimensional models, which are optimized for reporting and loading as well. We're able to go ahead and report this onto the presentation layer. The BW has proprietary reporting tool called BEX, Business Explorer, and it has a suite of business applications or Explorer applications on top of BW. You can also connect using the business objects reporting portfolio of tools on top of BW. Right, so here basically let me try to explain this on Excel. So the solution that SAP has given basically allows you to go ahead. Let's say we have an ECC system. All right. And we have a BW system. Okay, this could be a BW 3.5 or 7.1 or 7.3 or even 7.4, any of these versions. So basically you have an ECC system and you have a BW environment. Now this is the OLTP solution, which is basically the online transaction processing system. This is the OLAP solution. Okay. Now here you had data from different modules. You have sales, you have finance, you have quality, material management. There's so many different modules, and daily transactions happen over here and data is collected. Now trying to run reports over here within the ECC, this is enabled for reporting as well. Alright, you can run reports here, you can develop reports, need some knowledge on ABAP, but you can run reports, you have standard reports, all of these are available on ECC. But when you run these reports, there is a lot of performance lag, and this is going to be affected by every user who's using the ECC system. It's not for one user. So the entire business might kind of slow down because of the performance issue of the application being used. All right, this is the ERP application, which is the SAP. Now SAP, what they did was they want to make the analytics part of it independent of ECC so that there's no performance issue on the daily transaction processing system. All right, so they came up with this idea of BW, came with multiple, or they had first versions which basically was handling only one module from BW 2.0, and then you had 3.0, 3.5 was one of the systems, and the biggest jump was from 3.5 to 7.0, where a lot of new features have been added. The concepts of DTP and all of them were introduced. Now here, basically, when you are trying to make the analytics independent of ECC, you have to consider a few more things. All right. The first thing is you need to have all the data that is there on the ECC system within the BW environment, which means that you have to somehow bring all the data that is there on ECC, all the data that is generated in ECC into the BW environment. And this process of moving this entire data from ECC into BW, this process is called as extraction. All right. If any of you are not able to understand, just make sure that you raise your hand or leave a chat message. All right. This process is called as extraction. We look at BW in three major ways. One is extraction, modeling, and reporting. Alright, so the training also we will be looking at these three major areas within BW. Alright, so here If you have to bring all of, or if you have to make BW or ECC independent of analytics, you need to have application which basically has all the data that is generated in ECC somehow moved into BW. This process of it is called as extraction. SAP has all of these extractors built. You can build custom extractors as well to basically pump out all the data that is there from here, from the ECC tables or views or the system into the BW environment. Now the process of extraction involves bringing in a complete load at one shot or bringing incremental data, which involves process of trying to understand full loads and delta loads. Alright, so this involves extraction. You have different kinds of extractors, generic extractors, business content extractors. You have SAP's pre-built extractors. You have COPA extractors, and we'll try to understand how each of these extractors is different from the others. You have logistic cockpit, and so we'll try to understand how you handle all of these extractors as well. Now, once you are able to find a way to extract data into BW, right, the next biggest thing that you need to understand is where do you put all of this data, all right, which means that we need to understand the architecture of BW. So what is the gateway layer that you have within BW? The gateway layer that you have within BW where your data first needs to be dropped, this is called as the persistent staging area, or PSA. Alright. Once you have the persistent staging area, then you have the exact copy of what you have in the ECC system being dumped into the persistent staging area. Once from here, you have a lot of other objects that are built here, optimized for reporting, optimized for loading data into it. You also have objects which have summarized information. You have objects which hold detailed information. And more than anything, you have, just like how you have fields within tables in here, the smallest objects within BW that will physically hold the data, these are termed as info objects in BW. Alright, so the info objects are available and you are going to build bigger structures like tables. You have some things called as info cubes and DSOs and multi-providers and virtual providers. There are a lot of objects that will hold your data so that on top of this data you are able to go ahead and report your or you can go and present your data to the user. The you have multi-dimensional models. InfoCube is the central component of the BW environment. You have InfoCubes, you have DSOs, you have multi-providers, virtual providers, and there's so many different objects within that. Info objects are the smallest objects within BW that will hold physical data. They are basically divided into two major sections, just like how you have dimensions and measures. You have here two called as characteristics and key figures. So these objects are used to create info cubes and DSOs and multi-providers. On top of the BW application, you have the Business Explorer, which is the proprietary reporting tool. We also will have or can use the business objects interface on top of BW as well. They're able to use the multi-dimensional models which can be used there as well. You can import the info cubes or DSOs and then you can build your reports on top of that as well. So in the modeling section, we are going to look at how do we create these info cubes, these DSOs, multi-providers, how do we bring data and how do we use summarized objects, how do you use detailed objects within BW, what is the process of building these objects, all right, these info providers. We'll be looking at all of these. Now, we're going to look at two major scenarios. We're going to look at BW as is using normal database like Oracle or SQL. Right. So we'll first use normal database underlying. When I say normal, it could be an Oracle, it could be a SQL database underlying the BW application. All right. This is basically trying to understand BW as is. All right. What do you have in 7.4? What do you have in 7.3? And how do you build your objects? The basic understanding of BW. Now BW you have the extended star schema as the major modeling mechanism here. We'll try to understand that architecture. We're trying to understand InfoCube. How do you build InfoCubes? What is the schema that is underlying the InfoCube? Likewise, what kinds of DSOs are there, data store objects, and what is the schema underlying it? Why is it called as a detailed provider? Why is this called as a summarized provider? So we'll try to understand the modeling concepts here. All right, how do you go ahead and basically define a model? Is there something like a business content that is available with BW? All right, do you have pre-built structures? If so, how do you import them from a business content? So all of this we're going to try to understand in the modeling section. All right, this is going to be the chunk of trying to understand BW. This is there's very elaborate sessions on how do you understand to build a cube, when do you need to build a cube, when do you have data store objects, and what is the schema involved with it, the architecture that goes with it. So we'll try to understand and build these objects. Once we try to understand, then we will bring in the component of HANA and we'll see how do you upgrade from an existing version into BW 7.4 if it's an upgrade installation. In case you are trying to use a new installation with BW 7.4, then what is it that you are going to do as an upgrade project? What are your responsibilities? If you're doing a new installation of BW 7.4, what are the changes that are going to happen on the BW application? Now this is going to be changed as we go and talk BW 7.4 because the underlying database that we've talked about, Oracle, is going to change to HANA database, and so the application is trying to adapt to that database. So we will be looking at all the features that are there that are provided with BW 7.4 and SAP HANA Service Pack 8. But for that we need to understand concepts from HANA, we need to understand concepts from BW, then we will be able to understand BW on top of HANA very clearly. So coming back to talking about BW, on the modeling perspective, we try to understand how we build all of these objects, what are the intrinsic objects within BW which are used for building the bigger blocks. And once we do that, we try to get to the reporting where we see what are the reporting features that you have in Business Explorer. How do you integrate business objects reporting tools with BW? So we also have the course curriculum. I hope this is sent to you. So our discussion will be in these lines. So we try to understand BW first, we try to understand SAP HANA, and then we'll see how are these objects that are built with BW HANA quite different from what you have on core BW. Alright, so we will be looking at both BW without HANA, we'll be looking at BW on top of HANA as well. Now, after we understand the BW concept, that we have three major scenarios that you have: extraction, modeling, and reporting, and the entire warehousing solution from SAP for analytics. We'll also understand the latest system that we have, which is SAP HANA. Alright, SAP HANA, if I have to go and show you, let me show you the basic landscape of how SAP HANA fits into the SAP landscape. Now, SAP HANA, all of you must have heard that SAP HANA is an in-memory concept from a database. So HANA basically is implemented, or you have two major ways of implementing HANA. All right, one is where you're using the appliance, and a second thing where you're using HANA as a database. Alright, so we'll try to understand the appliance first, and then we'll try to understand even the HANA as a database as well. So if you're looking at understanding the appliance, first thing is SAP HANA is an in-memory database, and the appliance basically, just give me one moment. Alright, so to look at the landscape here, so in the appliance, this is HANA Analytic Processing Appliance. So here you have data brought in from different systems. The appliance itself is a combination of hardware and software. Alright, the hardware is provided by SAP's partner vendors like Cisco, HP, IBM, Dell, and all of these, and the software is done by the SAP. You're trying to channelize these extremely fast servers using the uh, interface which is called as the SAP HANA Studio. The whole point of using SAP HANA came into existence because when you're using BW, what we are trying to do when we're talking about the concept of extraction, we are looking at trying to move the data from ECC into BW not during the time of business transactions but after your business transactions are complete, which means that you will have to wait till your entire business day is complete, and after the business is complete, that's when you start processing the data or extracting data from ECC into BW, which probably gives you a time after, let's say, your business is complete at 6 p.m., which means that after 6 p.m. is when you can start your extraction. Usually they start at around 8 p.m. and goes on till let's say 4 a.m. or 6 a.m. in the morning. So basically the entire extraction happens after your business transaction day is complete, which means that you are, by the time you have all of your data within the BW and you're trying to generate reports on top of BW, you are on a lag of at least a day. Your daily transactions happen today and you're going to look at reports tomorrow. Alright, you might have the most analyzed, summarized, detailed reports on BW, but the biggest drawback is that you are trying to look at your data only tomorrow. Alright, so whatever transactions have happened today, you're going to look at the reports only tomorrow, which means you are on a lag of at least a day. And there are a lot of strategic decisions that can be made that are delayed because of trying to look at the reports on the next day. You have concepts like uh, real-time data acquisition and all that within BW, but they are not optimized that the entire system can use real-time data acquisition. This is only for a few extractors that you can bring data at real time. But the industry that you look at right now is not or needs analytical reports, but more than that, what they need is they need information as it happens. All right, they need data as it happens. They need data at real time. They want to look at reports at real time. Basically, analytics or reports is an organized way of trying to put all of that data that you process here and which will be available for a decision maker to make immediate decisions. And SAP HANA basically as an appliance is a real-time solution. BW doesn't have that advantage, but what we have is SAP HANA as an appliance which is trying to provide data at real time. If you look at the landscape, it is, right, just give me one moment here. Somebody had a question. Guys, if you have a question, either raise your hand or go ahead and type it in the chat message. Alright, so in the SAP HANA architecture, we basically are trying to bring data. SAP HANA is a database. Intrinsically, SAP HANA is a database. Alright, a database cannot generate data by itself. You will have to give it data, and the database is able to process calculations and is able to do everything in extreme speeds. That is the whole concept of SAP HANA, because of the uh, concept of in-memory within the database. So here we're trying to bring in data from ECC, we're trying to bring in data from BW or any other system, we're trying to push data into SAP HANA. Now this also is a challenge because you need to have some kind of a mechanism for replicating all of this data into SAP HANA at real time. If you want to look at your reports at real time, all of this data should be available within HANA at real time. Alright, so there are different kinds of replication mechanisms involved, like SLT, you have business objects data services, direct extractor connections, you have Sybase, and there are different ways of how you can move that data into SAP HANA. Once you move that data into SAP HANA, the data is processed at extreme speeds. All the data is stored in memory on the RAM, and your calculations are always on the go. And so you will have the data being represented on the presentations layer that is on top. SAP HANA does not have a proprietary reporting tool. It uses business objects reporting portfolio, either any of the reporting tools from business objects. And so you are able to process data and present data at real-time speeds in SAP HANA. All right, it's a combination. It's an expensive appliance. It's a combination of hardware and software. Okay, so what we will try to understand within SAP HANA is what are the basic concepts within SAP HANA that improves HANA speed, or the speed of processing. We will try to understand the SAP HANA Studio from Service Pack 8 perspective. We'll look at what are the models that we can build within SAP HANA. All right, we try to understand what is attribute view, what is analytic view, and what is a calculation view. And this we are trying to compare with the existing BW models. They are pretty similar to the BW models that are there, except that they do not have the extended star schema. They're built on the star schema model, not on the extended star schema model. We try to understand the comparison between attribute views, which are pretty similar to info objects, analytic views, which are similar to info cubes, and calculation views, which are pretty similar to multi-providers. It also needs the process of extraction. It also has the process of modeling, and there is reporting. Just that don't we have time lag? There's this question from Ashwin Reddy. Don't we have time lag between real-time copy from SAP Business Suite to SAP HANA? So that's the whole process of using different replication methods, replication engines like SLT. You don't have any lag. You're processing data at real time using business objects data services. You are trying to process data at near real-time speeds. If you're using SLT, it's real-time. If you're using Sybase replication, that is at real-time. So the process of moving the data into SAP HANA is extremely fast. Usually SAP, there's this question, usually ECC SAP sits on which database? By Badri. You can use Oracle, you can use SQL. That's majorly the databases that are used underlying the BW system. All right. Badri, you have a question? Okay. So the ECC also sits on the Oracle system or the Oracle database. You can use SQL as well. All right. So regularly the underlying database that is used is Oracle. Now once we have an understanding of SAP HANA, all right, this is a solution basically which involves trying to bring data from all of these applications. It is possible to use SAP HANA by even customers who are not SAP clients, meaning you might be running your application on a different system or Oracle apps or some system, and you will still be able to leverage SAP HANA's in-memory processing for very fast reporting, or you can process your data at extreme speeds. You can leverage the use of SAP HANA appliance. The second solution that SAP HANA is used is when you're using SAP HANA as a database. All right. So the SAP HANA as a database has a different approach. So here you basically could have the entire SAP HANA suite where you have the appliance and the HANA interface. Just give me one moment here. All right. So you might SAP HANA as an application, basically as an appliance, basically has the hardware and software, and you have the interface called as the SAP HANA Studio. All right. So in the Studio, you have basically, if you are well versed with using SQL Developer, you would find pretty much like how you can create databases and how you can make changes on the database and the tables. You have a similar interface, but a little advanced. Now here you have basically different databases, or you call them as schemas in here. Then you have a way of how you can go ahead and model these schemas in the content section, how we can go and build attribute views, analytic views, calculation views, how can we import and or how can we create procedures and decision tables, how can we have analytic privileges built on top of this. So this is all SAP HANA Studio, which is the interface for SAP HANA database. Now this is all powered by the in-memory, or you have servers which basically support the in-memory concept. Your RAM is extremely high and you are trying to save all of that data on the main memory, which is RAM. Now we're trying to bring both of them together, what we've looked at BW and what we've looked at HANA, and we're trying to bring them together where we're looking at a solution where we're trying to use SAP HANA or SAP HANA as an underlying database for BW. Now the concept here is when you're using HANA as an underlying database for BW, you have, in case you're an existing customer running 7.3 or 7.0, you will have to migrate or you'll have to upgrade to using SAP HANA as an underlying database, which basically involves the process of moving out the Oracle database or SQL database underlying and migrating it to SAP HANA database. Once you actually do that process, there is a whole set of change in how the application is designed now. All right, we have the BW on top of HANA SP8, and we're going to look at the warehousing model. And if you go in here, your basic database that you're using here is the same HANA database that we're using for the interface of SAP HANA Studio. All right, so we're going to use the database with the same power for processing the data at extreme speeds, and use that within the BW application. So in this scenario, we don't need ECC to have an underlying database of HANA. If you have this for the OLAP solution, which is BW, if you have an underlying database is HANA, that is good enough. All right. You have solutions where you have ECC on top of HANA as well. But we're looking at BW on top of HANA. This is the most implemented thing from SAP HANA. So here, when you're using BW on top of HANA, we basically utilize the extreme speed processing of the underlying database, and we're also using the modeling capability of BW. All right. So here, whatever you are able to model, the tables that you create and all of this will be seen directly within the studio of SAP HANA Studio. You have BW SAP BW4, one of the schemas that is available here, and you are able to look at all of these tables that are built so that you can look at it directly here. Now what we are going to understand is what are the changes that happen to the BW application once you go ahead and upgrade it to BW 7.4 and once you're using underlying database. Now these will bring in the HANA optimized cubes and HANA optimized data store objects. We will try to understand what is the architecture that is built with them, what are the underlying schema that you'd use. I told you that from now on, from BW 7.4, having HANA as an underlying database, we will start looking at understanding star schema and how data can be modeled in here. All right. Now there are a lot of new features that have been added, and there has been also the process of how you can move objects between HANA and BW. Now intermediate system between ECC and BW is where you have the HANA appliance, alright, and this is kind of bridging the OLTP and the OLAP system. That is what the HANA solution is. So if somebody wants to look at reports at extreme speeds and at real time, you would use HANA. You might have the same client still wanting to look at reports from BW as well. So you might have both the HANA implementation and BW, and you might have BW on top of HANA as well. And most of the times, all clients who have HANA will go for BW on top of HANA. You might have clients who are using just BW on top of HANA as well. And we're looking at a segment where we're trying to understand what are the changes that will happen to the BW application, how the entire modeling concept is going to change, what are the interfaces that are going to be used with BW 7.4 with the SAP HANA Service Pack 8 as the underlying database. So there are a lot of new features that have been added. You can even move objects between BW and HANA. You have the concepts of composite providers that they have been introduced to bring objects from SAP HANA. So the models within SAP HANA are majorly three. You have them as the attribute view, which is pretty similar to dimensions. You have analytic views, you have calculation views. These are the three main models that you have within SAP HANA, and you are able to go ahead and move these into BW, and you can go ahead and bring in the BW info cubes and DSOs into the SAP HANA interface as well. Alright, so they have brought in this concept of how you can import the objects from BW into SAP HANA, and similarly how to move the objects from HANA into BW. We will try to understand and create how we will go ahead and move these objects. We will look within the course content. Basically, this is the course content that we would have for our sessions. Alright, so basically the first set of classes will involve trying to understand the core concept of BW, the core concept of HANA, and then we try to build on top of that. Now, since we're using SAP HANA as an underlying database, we need to understand basically what is the concept of SAP HANA. I was talking to you about the in-memory concept, where we are not trying to store data on hard disk, but we're trying to store data on the RAM itself. Alright, this is the concept of SAP HANA. Now this is not the only concept. There are a lot of improvements from the software side as well, where you're trying to go ahead and look at the column storage and row storage that has been introduced, and we're going to use these concepts when you're using BW on top of the SAP HANA database as well. So this improves the speed of retrieval of data almost 100-fold. So we're looking at extremely fast results. Your entire calculation is pushed down onto the database than trying to do it on the application layer. Previously, if you were to use a BW application, what you would do is for you to go and process the data, you would bring the data from the database into the application layer, and then you process the data there based on the business rules that are defined. But what we are trying to do in SAP HANA is we're trying to push the entire calculation onto the database itself, right? So there is a lot of advantage and improvement in speed when you're talking about SAP HANA appliance or when you're using SAP HANA as an underlying database. The objects that you create here, the info cubes or DSOs, they will be optimized for HANA. The schema that we will be used is the star schema modeling, and we will try to see what is the improvement that you have when you use star schema over extended star schema. All right, and how do we go and migrate from 3.5 to 7.4? So even those steps we will try to understand during this training program. The agenda for the classes are here. We're going to look at the first section where we're trying to look at SAP HANA. We're trying to understand the concepts of HANA. We will be looking at the HANA architecture from the database perspective, from the interface perspective. We're looking at basically how to bring data or replication perspective. We're trying to look at how to report on top of HANA. So we basically understand the architecture of SAP HANA. All right, and then see, Badri, there's this question: are you going to cover in detail of BW admin and HANA admin areas? We will be not going in depth into BW admin and HANA admin. I'm telling you upfront. This is basically trying to understand BW on top of HANA. All right, and this is for a developer. Though we are going to touch admin topics as well, but they will not be the complete set of admin topics. BW administration is a completely vast and different area. Likewise, HANA admin as well. But what we will be doing in this session is we'll be looking at BW from a developer perspective and also HANA from a developer perspective. But we will try to understand what you have on the administration front as well. We're not going to cover that in very detail. All right. All right, that Ravi will answer that for you. You can talk to Ravi regarding that. All right, so here in the part 2, basically we try to understand the modeling. So these are all the topics that we'll try to understand. This is core BW, where we're looking at multidimensional modeling. We're trying to understand how to go ahead all three environments. This is question from Badri. All three environments, all three areas, ECC, SAP, BW, HANA have different environments like dev, test, and production. Yes. The thing about ECC and BW is you can have each of them. Again, they'll have the landscape of development, quality, and production. Usually they are on 3 different systems. All right. Whereas HANA, you have all of them on one server. It is expensive to buy 3 HANA boxes, so you try to use one HANA box and bring in 3 landscape on the same HANA box. All right. But you will have all of them integrated individually, all development systems, all quality, and all production systems integrated. So here, the second part of modeling basically deals with how I mentioned you basically can classify the entire training as extraction, modeling, and reporting. All right, this is basically the modeling section. Also has the extraction section as well. What is different from what you have with the extraction? Now, previously with SAP HANA, you had only data services or SLT providing data into HANA, and that will be used within BW importing models. Now you can go ahead and use Smart Data Access. We look at how to bring data from normal databases into SAP HANA, and we're going to look at how the BW application. First, we'll understand the core application of BW. How do we handle extractions? How do we build extractors? How do we build models? What are the intrinsic objects within BW? And in case you're using previous versions of 3.x or 7.x, how do we upgrade them to BW 7.4? How do we make use of the business content? So that is what we'll be looking at the first sessions. We will be looking at how to handle extractors using all the different methods of extraction, business content extractors, COPA extractors, extracting master data, transaction data, how to build generic extractors, how to automate this whole thing using process chains, how do we upgrade process chains from a 3.x flow to a 7.4 flow. So we'll be looking at all of that. Once we are clear with that, we will also look at the reporting section and get a glimpse of how the reporting section in BW is like. Then we look at understanding the HANA models. All right. So here we try to understand the SAP HANA, and we will look at what are the concept of SAP HANA. Now we'll also have to look at BW Accelerator, because this basically was used for enhancing the speed of BW. Now we have BW Accelerator replaced by SAP HANA, and what is the advantages of SAP HANA on top of BW Accelerator. And the SAP HANA architecture is what we're going to look at after that. We'll look at how to build models within SAP HANA. How do you go ahead and create attribute views? How do you create analytic views? And how do you create calculation views? How do you import and export these models over the landscape? So we'll try to go and look at that. And once we understand both of these concepts, we will go and look at how the BW on top of HANA is framed with the BW's 7.4. All right, so we'll look at how to go ahead and work on BW 7.4. We'll look at all the new objects that have been built with 7.4. How do we import objects from SAP HANA? What is the depth that underlying database of HANA brings into BW application 7.4? How does the ETL process work? And so we'll look at all of that. Now the understanding is we're going to, since we understand the BW concept and the SAP HANA concept, that will make it easier for us to understand the BW on top of HANA. All right. One of the most common implementations right now happening are BW on top of HANA, and so we will be looking at, with these implementations, what are we expected. So at this point, I leave this session for questions. You can either type it in the chat, or if you want me to unmute it, I could go ahead and unmute if you want to talk. We are looking at 45 hours of training here, where we try to understand BW on top of HANA. Could you please share the course content, Ashwin? Yes, the course content will be sent to you. The recorded session also will be sent to you, so you can take a look at it. We will have the sessions starting from tomorrow, regular sessions, and see, now there's this question from Badri: what level of knowledge we need on SAP ECC tables in real-time jobs? We will be looking at that. Basically, I will try to explain you a couple of modules like sales and finance, and we can take those examples and we can build them within the SAP HANA model and also on the BW model. All right. So you basically, if you understand what tables are and if you understand the primary key foreign key relationships, we can go ahead and use uh, how do we go ahead and bring tables from ECC, and how do we import them into BW, how do we create extractors. So that part of it I will be able to make you understand. This course is not purely for BW developers. It is not for purely for administrators. All right, this is for people who want to understand BW and HANA and find the advantage of BW on top of HANA. And this is majorly for developers. Right. All right. Let me just unmute you. Sushant.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Hi, this is Sushant. And sir, actually, I have a question. This is actually a very basic question.
Go ahead.
Now, say if we are taking this course for SAP BW on SAP HANA, is it is it not necessary for us to first understand SAP BW completely before getting into SAP BW on HANA? Because see, I'm basically from an ABAP background. I'm an
All
ABAP,
right.
and I really don't have much knowledge on BW. Maybe I may have worked a little bit when I was in India, probably for about 2 or 3 months. And it's a very minor experience that I have on SAP BW, and I'm completely out of touch with it right now. So, but if I were to take this course, SAP BW on SAP HANA, if I don't know SAP BW itself, so
All right. Let me answer this question for you, Sushant. Now we're talking about a course where we are covering BW, core BW. All right. And I'm trying to give you the entire concept of SAP HANA as an appliance and as a database. We're trying to bring BW on top of HANA. We will go ahead and give you the information and how to go ahead and process BW on HANA. Alright, this is basically what we are changing on the underlying side is the database. Okay, there is changes on the application because of the underlying database not able to process the extended star schema. So we're using the star schema model itself, and because of which the application has changed a little bit on the top, and the way of how modeling is done is also a little different. That is the whole point of arranging the course curriculum, so that we first show you what is BW, give you what exactly is BW, and then make you understand what is HANA, and then go to BW on top of HANA. So when you are going to a new implementation to a client, he doesn't test you about BW, but he's going to ask you what you understand of BW on top of HANA. All right. So we're going to present you, and you are going to work on hands about that concept. So when you are trying to understand BW on top of HANA, absolutely you will need BW knowledge as well. So that's why first we make sure that you understand BW core concepts, then introduce HANA, then BW on top of HANA. That makes the last concept simpler because of doing the prior two concepts.
yeah, like sort of my question was like, both these things are new to me because I'm like just from an ABAP background. BW is new, HANA is new. So both these things coming to me at
Don't
once.
worry, both of these are little similar. That's what I told you. BW is a concept where you have time where you can analyze data, bring data after your production period is complete in a day, and then you process them. SAP HANA is trying to bring everything at real time. Alright, so the concept of trying to do both of them are the same. You have extraction, you have modeling, and you have reporting. Both of these appliances basically talk about the same thing. But how do we use them together is what we're trying to understand. It shouldn't be too difficult. You could go ahead and go through a few sessions. And then if you find that you are able to follow and grasp, then you can talk to Mahesh.
Okay. See, one more thing which a few friends of mine were saying earlier was that with SAP HANA coming up, they were saying that SAP BW itself might go away because you can do this reporting directly from SAP HANA. So I just would like to have your views
Alright,
on
so that is the wrong notion from a lot of people that SAP HANA is going to take over BW. Now, if that is actually going to happen, the BW 7.4 was released very few months back, alright? And SAP doesn't have to waste any more in innovation for BW, right? They could go just on HANA innovation itself. So BW is not going to fade away. In fact, you have more clients for BW on HANA than HANA itself.
Mhm.
All right. So that is a wrong notion. We'll see why BW will coexist with SAP HANA. Okay.
Okay. But do you provide any course only for SAP BW, like specifically only say SAP BW? Do you
Yeah,
provide
you
any?
can speak to Mahesh. He will let you know.
Okay.
All right.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks, Sushant.
Thank you.
Hi, Manju Ramesh.
Yeah.
You have a question?
Um. No, thank you.
Nageshwar Rao. You have a question? Alright, there's another question here from Ashwin Reddy. What about SAP experience? I don't have any knowledge on SAP. Guys, now if you're learning BW or if you're learning HANA or if you're learning data services, these again are systems that are trying to analyze data. It is not necessary that you have a complete SAP knowledge prior to doing these. Alright, if you have a knowledge of SAP, that is a great advantage. But even if you don't have, if you have functional experience or if you have basic understand about how you can relate tables, then we can go ahead and understand SAP. SAP is a vast content. It is not possible for us to understand SAP. We'll have bits and pieces of what we understand. Then you have BW where we're talking about a concept for all the tables of SAP. Alright, so we'll try to look at what are the basic tables within SAP and how they are linked. So that part of it, I will explain that to you. Ashwin, this was for you. In BW, what level of expertise is SQL, PL, SQL is required? So all SAP systems use the ABAP for coding, Advanced Business Application Programming for coding. As much as possible, we will try not to use coding at all. If you have experience with SQL, that will be an added advantage when you use HANA. Alright, so you have the calculation views where you can use SQL, or even you have an SQL interface in which you can do a lot of things. In this training, how hands-on we will be on HANA. So we're looking at both HANA and BW individually. We're trying to bring BW on top of HANA. This is for your question, Venkat. So we will be looking at all the models that we can build within HANA, all the concept of SAP HANA. The administration side will be a little quick, but on a developer front, we will be looking at all the concepts from SAP HANA as well. The course curriculum basically explains what all we'll be covering from the HANA perspective. Venkat, I've unmuted you if you want to ask something.
Do we have a separate training on admin also?
At least I'm not handling that part of it. You can speak to Mahesh and he'll let you know about the administration.
Thank you.
All right? Thanks. All right, so to this up?
Hi. Hello.
Yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah, this is Manan. So I just have a doubt about this SAP on top of HANA thing, because I'm completely new to this SAP as a whole. So I was just making up my mind now which course I should be studying, like whether a RAP or FICO or this. So can you just give me a little bit
All right,
info about
so
this?
see
One
what
more
we
about this SAP BW on top of HANA. It's like taking two different modules, right, in SAP.
see we are trying to BW on HANA is a single module. What we will be looking here is trying to understand what we can do on BW on HANA. And if you want to know BW on HANA, it's more of an understanding if you have the core concepts of BW and HANA. Alright. That's why it might sound like two courses, but what we are trying to concentrate and learn on is BW on top of HANA. That is the actual course.
Okay. And as far as I understood, like it's just for the transition that's going on in the organizations, right? This particular topic will be helpful. Or once the transition is done, then I don't think so there will be in use or something like that.
See, BW on HANA, see SAP was using Oracle as the underlying database. Now it will shift to using HANA as an underlying database. It will become mandatory, alright? So all of SAP clients who are using this will have to go through this process, and we will be having BW on HANA, we'll have ECC on HANA. So these are the concepts that will be in the future. It is not a transition. It is a transition for customers who are using existing BW into BW on top of HANA. But it is not like something that will happen right now and then drift back into BW or something like that. It's going to be BW on HANA henceforth. Alright, so it's not a transition that is happening. It is more of something that is being used by every customer now. And SAP kind of makes it mandatory for everybody to use it. So now or later you will have to learn about BW on HANA, the concepts of HANA.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, cool. Yes, we will be able to do certification on HANA after the training. We've had pretty much all our students score over 90 and 95% in the SAP HANA certification, so that speaks for us. Venkat. Nageshwar Rao. Do you have a question? SAP HANA certification will be useful in the market, and Venkat, do you have any question? You raise your hand. Alright guys, so if you have any further questions regarding course fee or session timelines, server access, you can call on that number below. You can speak to Mahesh. Alright. Alright, so we will have regular sessions starting tomorrow. one more instruction. The course curriculum, the video for today's session will be sent to your email while you have done the registration. Whatever is the email that you put in there, it will be sent to that email address. All right. And in case you don't see it in your inbox, please check on your junk or spam folders as well, just in case it might miss on your inbox. But emails will be sent based on whatever you have given in the registration process. Alright, so make sure you check those emails. So Manju, you can call on this number that is there on the screen, 469-433-0066, and you can speak to Mahesh. He will let you know about timings and the fee. Alright guys, thank you for attending this session. I'll hope to see you, all of you, during the regular sessions from tomorrow. Alright, so we will be looking at the interface of BW and looking at how the objects are built within BW and the schema that we use for BW in tomorrow's session. Alright, see you, take care, bye bye.